Good evening, everybody, and welcome to TradeTheseStocks.com evening update. Today is Thursday, March 21st, 2013. Let's get into the charts. I want to show you the spiders 10-minute intraday chart. Today what happened is that the spiders gapped down in the morning, probably on these uncertainties in Europe and on everything that is going on in Cyprus, and it seems to become more and more of a reality the more time that goes by. And as a matter of fact, Ben Bernanke was asked yesterday in his FOMC meeting what he thought about this whole idea of taxing bank depositors up to 10%, and he just shrugged the idea off, thinking, saying that if it's something that needs to be done, it's something that needs to be done. And so ultimately, it looks like we might be seeing these things in the world more and more. Now, I don't know if I may be exaggerating here, but the markets don't lie, and so what I see in the markets is a lot of weakness. As a matter of fact, if you look at all these technical levels, you see that the market is very much ready to reverse. Now, we don't know if we're going to reverse now, if we're going to get to the all-time highs, or maybe even exceed the all-time highs. But ultimately, even if we do that, we don't have much upside, maybe 2 to 3%. And so if you see only 2 to 3% upside, and you know that you have the potential to go back to these 200-point flash crash days, which side of the market do you want to be on? Do you want to be long and only get a couple of percent out of the market, or do you want to be short and then ride the move down? Me personally, I would rather have shorts at this moment in time. I will also look for longs, but more on a short-term period, intradays and maybe a couple of swings, but not more, than 1 or 2 days to hold. I'm definitely not looking for longs to hold for more than 3 or 4 days. I think that is playing with fire. And so ultimately, look for shorts. Now, if you're a swing trader, you have to be more inclined towards shorts. Of course, look for the levels. Don't just go out there and pick the first stock that you think might reverse. So look for patterns. That's what I do, and that's how you become a successful trader. Now, enough of me. I want to tell you about the SPY. The spiders gapped down this morning, tried to go back, only kind of flirted with the 20 MA, didn't really succeed much. And as a matter of fact, if you look at the middle of the day today, you saw a lot of red candles. We haven't seen this kind of action in the markets in a long time. These couple of months, it was very, very easy for me to make money, because all I had to do was wake up in the morning, go long a strong stock, and eventually, I would make a profit. Those days are over. Right now, I'm telling you, be ready for shorts. Right now is the time when the market, you could just wake up one morning and the market could reverse on you. The Dow might be down 200-300 points. Those days are coming back. So be careful. And also shorts, when you're going short, the market goes down more quickly than it goes up. And so, if you're going short, that's great for you. But if you're long, be ready to cut your losses more quickly. So you have to be faster on the trigger, when these markets go down. And so, we might have a little bit more upside tomorrow because it's Friday. Usually, Ben Bernanke doesn't like bad news into the weekend, and so we don't know. We might get something out of Europe again. You just don't know, because initially we were told that the banks would open up on Thursday in Cyprus, and so we don't know tomorrow morning when we wake up what we're going to see. From my understanding, they're going to find a plan B, but ultimately it doesn't change the fact that this country is almost bankrupt. And a lot of people say, well, this is Cyprus. Why do we care? It's a small island. We care because Cyprus is very important for banking. This is where a lot of foreigners are stashing away their money, just like, for example, they do in Switzerland, Cayman Islands. Well, imagine Cyprus being one of those regions. And so, even though this country is small, don't underestimate the effect of this news. Okay. Now, as far as the spiders, if we go back to the technical levels, I really don't see much upside. We might have a little bit more upside tomorrow. And if I were to draw a couple of trend lines, and one thing you'll learn about me is that I love trend lines, and I trade off of them for the most part and have been very successful. Now as far as upside, you might see a little bit upside off of this trend line right here, and so use your charting software to draw this trend line into tomorrow morning. Ultimately, I have this pivot right here, which I already drew in, and then this pivot right here, if we should be lucky enough to have a little bit more upside. But nonetheless, it's going to take a lot of power for the market to go back up there, especially after, you know, all this volatility in the last couple of days. As a matter of fact, if you look at, you know, this week and even some of last week, you will see that every single day we had a gap in the market. You know, if you look at the 14th, we gapped up. The next day, we gapped down, gap up yesterday, and gap down this morning. And you know, all of this is driven by the uncertainty, by these news that are coming out of Europe, China, or wherever. We really don't know, you know, what's going to hit us next. You know, initially it was Cyprus, and so we sold off here, and then yesterday everything was solved. There was going to be a plan B. You know, we floated up, and then we also had the FOMC meeting yesterday, and so for the most part we kind of floated sideways. And then of course Ben Bernanke came on the mic and said that he would leave everything unchanged. The market rallied back up a little bit more, but ultimately, you know, this was a good day. And then this morning we gapped down again. So you really don't know what to expect, but be careful. We're going to see these down days very soon. We might go up a little bit more to test these highs, but ultimately I would rather be on the short side because that's where my greater reward is, okay? Now if I draw a little bit more of my trend lines, what I want to show you is if you take this pivot right here, connect it to this pivot right here from 2 days ago, you will see that today we touched that area right here, and as a matter of fact we put in this cute little tail right here and we reversed. Not much of a reversal, but if you're an intraday trader and you can get maybe 20-30 cents out of the market, which is what I do and what you should be doing as well if you follow me. But you know, nonetheless, this was a very good reversal bar, and you know, I made some money on this chart right here. But as far as more downside, if I were to do more trend lines, I have to go back, and there's one trend line that I really like, but I have to go back. This right here, if I were to connect these two pivot points, I really like this trend line right here. And of course, because it's a sloping trend line, the levels are going to change, and so tomorrow it might be 149, and then on Monday it might be 150. I highly doubt that we get to 149 tomorrow. You know, that would require a 5-point drop in the market, but you never know nowadays with these gaps in the markets. You might get that little flash crash. I doubt that we get it on a Friday, but anything is possible. And you know, a little bit more, one level that is a little bit more realistic for me is, let me just see here real quick. I have to zoom in a little bit. If I take this area right here, connect it to here, now that's roughly, just very, very roughly. You can kind of do this yourself if you wanted to maybe draw an even better trend line, but around this area right here. Okay, so you can do this on your charting software as well. So ultimately these are your levels to watch for. And then if you look at the parallel lines, I have 150, 155, then I have 150.45, and then I really like this level at 148.79. I doubt that we get there tomorrow, but keep these levels on your charts at all times so that if you see a pattern, if you see something feasible, then you can go long or short off of these charts. Now I want to go into Oracle. You know, I have to talk about that because Oracle had earnings this morning, and as you can see from the charts don't lie. They were horrible. They missed on everything pretty much, and as a matter of fact, you know, they took along with them every other, or for the most part, you know, every other tech that you could imagine. You know, if you look at IBM didn't look good at all this morning. It gapped down, continued to move down on these big red candles. It reversed a little bit, but ultimately, you know, it just made it back into this gap. area here, but it didn't fill the gap. It's still underneath the 200 MA. It closed on the 50 MA, so that's a very interesting level for the close, and it would be interesting to see tomorrow what happens. It might be a little bit of bullishness off this pattern, but nonetheless, if you see more selling on Oracle or any of these other stocks, IBM could go along with them. Now, one interesting thing that I wanted to note is Apple. Apple has been, compared to the markets today, has been very resilient. As a matter of fact, it had this very nice consolidation pattern. It closed below it, so I don't like it so much now into the close, but nonetheless, you have to say that Apple is impressive, and so keep this in mind for your swings. So, you know, if Apple were to come into a better level and it continues to be strong like it was today, then ultimately this might be a good swing. Now, compare Apple on a daily basis, because yesterday I didn't think that Apple was very strong, and so keep Apple on your lookout, because when you see Oracle and IBM and all these other tech selling, and then you see, you know, Apple having this breakout right here, you know, it doesn't matter if it's on rumors or whatnot. You know, just look at the patterns, look at what the chart is telling you, and then decide if you think that Apple will be a good buy. And so if I see a little bit more of this behavior into tomorrow and maybe Monday, then I will probably take a very small position long. Again, you know, it's very tricky now to take a long position. Like I said, you know, now is a better time to go short, and so I will have to look at this on a daily basis to see what Apple is doing. Now, another problem area is FedEx. Of course, FedEx is one of the world's largest shipping stocks, and I have to look at it on the daily to kind of show you the detriment that has been done to this chart. This chart has literally been butchered. But ultimately, you know, FedEx does not look good at all. 2 days ago, it came out with news warning that things are not as rosy as they seem. And, you know, if you kind of remember anything about 2008, 2009, you will remember that FedEx and these shipping companies were putting out warnings like this before we had the big crash. And so look for these kinds of signs. I don't want to sound too bearish. We might have a little bit more upside, but when I see these companies like Oracle and FedEx, it really makes me wonder, you know, where this market is headed. Now, after the market closed, we had a little bit of good news, which was Nike, and I have to look at Nike on a 24-hour chart, okay, to show you, and I have to also look at it on the intraday. Now, Nike is up from 53, 58, around this area, 58, 53, 60, all the way to 58, 14. So look for some momentum into Nike tomorrow. Now, obviously, don't chase, but if you see good levels, maybe you can short them. But only look for the best levels, because this stock has made a significant move after hours. So this might be the stock that saves the markets tomorrow morning. We have to see what is going to happen to these other weak stocks, namely Oracle, IBM, FedEx, and so forth. And I also want to look at, you know, stocks like Caterpillar today. And let me just erase this after hours part of the chart. Now, when you look at Caterpillar, Caterpillar has been very weak. You know, basically has been selling off from this area right here, from $90 just a few days ago to 86, 84. And so just to think about it, you know, to lose this much in a matter of about 2 days is very bad. And then not only that, you're also getting a bearish pattern into it. And so it makes you wonder, you know, if this market is doing so well and we're at these highs, why are charts like Caterpillar doing poorly? Also, Deere. Why is Deere doing so poorly? I mean, Deere had a gap down, and then it just bled lower throughout these past couple of days. And then if you really want to go and, you know, get into a swing trade, maybe off of this Deere and Caterpillar, one thing you can look at is Home Depot. And let me just change real quick to the daily. Okay. And Home Depot I have in this blue area right here, because this is my area where I think that Home Depot is topping out. I had this pink line right here, it went over it, and so maybe you might see a good area for Home Depot to short. And the reason why I say that is just look at Home Depot. Since August 2008 was at about $28. Now it's at $69. Home Depot is ridiculously extended. Okay, so expect some downside. I don't know when, but you know, ultimately this chart is way overbought, and so excuse me, yes, overbought. And so what you need to do is just find the great levels, and you know, just go for it. And if you get stopped out, you get stopped out. Keep a very small stop, but it's very hard to call a top on the market. It could be tomorrow, it could be in a month, it could be in 3 months, we don't know, but it's coming. So be ready, do your research, and look for these tops. Another one off of Home Depot is Lowe's, and I have a lot of ideas on Lowe's. As a matter of fact, I use something called time symmetry, where you know, I don't just look at the charts as they are in, you know, in visual terms. I also look at the time when what happened. And what I see here is that Lowe's had a really good run between August 2011 to April 2012, and then it's repeating the same run from August last year, and of course next month is April. And so it makes me wonder if the chart is going to top out into next month. And you also have a little bit of a trend line if you go back here, this blue trend line right here. And so those are all good ideas. I'm not ready yet to give you specific levels. I still have to see how the market is going to behave. And again, if you want to do intraday scalps, day trades, and as well as swings, shorts and longs, join us at TradeTheseStocks.com. I put out things on a daily basis, and I will see you on the charts very soon.